This week on It's Happening Out. It's Happening Out Person of the Year 2018. Our rainbow flag, does it need a makeover? Special guest Jerry Ann Henry, the new executive director of the gay conservative group Log Cabin Republicans. Special guest Sir Ari Gold, openly gay pop star and songwriter. Featuring lifestyle expert Napoleon Plays. Famous trans activist Aaron Phoenix. DJ Diva Power Infinity. DC Log Cabin Republican Joe Brookman. And your host, Al Ferguson.
Well, good evening, America. Welcome to It's Happening Out. We're coming to you live from Wilton Manors, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This is America's most popular live gay talk show. Before we begin tonight, we want to give you a little news. We're very excited here. Everyone here at It's Happening Out is very excited because we just got our reporting in from our last show, and guess how many people watched the show? 141,000 people watched.
Thank you.
We're really excited about it, and we want to remind you that this is a live show, so anything could happen. There's no rehearsal, there's no practice, there's no scripts. It's all live, so you see everything on America's most popular live gay talk show.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse. We invite you to like our page on Facebook. It is quite dynamic, and we think you're going to enjoy what we do tonight. So, are we all ready to start?
Absolutely.
Here we go. All right, we begin with headlines. There are multiple headlines in the news this week. One of the most interesting is the breaking news that we talked about understanding the very conservative gay organization, the Log Cabin Republicans. Has anyone ever heard of them? Yeah. Okay.
How cute.
All right. Well, yeah. How cute.
Hey, Jerry Ann.
Yeah. And so there is a brand new national executive director of this gay conservative group of the Log Cabin Republicans, and her name is Jerry Ann Henry. And tonight we have Jerry Ann with us. We're going to do a call in. Jerry Ann, can you hear me?
I can. How are you doing?
I am great. Jerry Ann, welcome to This is actually kind of a historic moment because you're our first female guest that we've had on It's Happening Out. The show's only done about 14 or 15 episodes. Exactly, and Aaron pointed that out to me.
Breaking the glass
I
ceiling
think
everywhere.
It's a big deal that it was the first female chair of Log Cabin, but am I the first female guest on this?
You
very...
are, actually,
You are.
Jerry.
We
Jerry
really
Ann.
are that problematic.
First successful Skype.
Exactly.
That's the most important.
Yeah.
We have, by the way, you know there are many gay women out there on our
Yeah.
I
side.
do. I keep trying to tell them that.
Oh my goodness! Did I
Okay.
just get shamed
Well,
by
I'm
the new
here.
executive
You knew this
director
was
of?
coming.
You just won
All
a
right.
fan if you just shamed
And
Al.
thank you, Jerry Ann. We need to get this started with you, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Bring
well,
'em
I'm going
on.
to start flooding you with women that you need to have on this show because there's some amazing advocates out there who do
Yes.
some great
Oh,
stuff.
please do. We look forward.
All right. Let's begin. Jerry Ann, we're really happy you're here with us. You're the brand new National Executive Director of the Log Cabin Republicans. Before we get into some of the issues that we want to get into, tell us about the Log Cabin Republicans and
Yeah.
help demystify what perhaps are myths or misunderstanding in the gay community.
Sure. So one of the things that's happened, I think, in the last few years, granted, not only am I a little bit one of the younger, and I'm the first female, but I'm also a little on the younger side of some of the people who have been here as part of Log Cabin. So it's important to realize that we've been around for over 40 years. So if you think of the gay movement going back 40 years ago, you're talking about Harvey Milk, fights that happened in Los Angeles and San Francisco and in California, things that are in the history books for the rest of American, for the rest of all time, in this fight. And Log Cabin Republicans has been part of that from the beginning. And I think that is lost sometimes in narrative. Granted, Republicans aren't always at the front of some of these issues, but no issue is won without both Democrat and Republican support. And Log Cabin Republicans has been the group that's made sure that the support has come from our side of the aisle. And that's been on things like the Briggs initiatives, that's been on things like Don't Ask, Don't Tell, that's been on gay marriage, all of those issues. We've had a major role and a significant role to play. It isn't always the most prominent one, but it is a vital one. And so I am aware that I've got shoes larger than I can ever fill to step into in this role.
Jerry Ann, it's an interesting point that you bring up. When Joe was added to the panel of It's Happening Out, we wanted to balance, and we're really happy that Joe is one of our hosts to provide a different perspective. And it's been valuable for the show. But Joe has received a bit of pushback, as you can imagine, in the broader gay community and the Log Cabin Republicans in general. I notice when I even mention the word Log Cabin Republicans frequently in the gay community, I get pushback on it. What would you say as the new executive director in the opportunity to talk to the broad gay community? What do you say about that issue?
Well, so there's a couple things. Like, on the one hand, I know that in recent years, the term Log Cabin Republicans, it's easy to use as a punchline. It's easy to say, how are there gay Republicans? And we can pull, and I actually have a great video clip that does sort of a stream of all the different clips of every popular show that's made fun of, oh, the Log Cabin Republicans. Oh, what about the Log Cabin Republicans? Who are you? What do you do? All of those things. So that's out there, and I get that. And I know that I'm not going to align with everybody in the LGBTQ community on every issue, but what I think is important to realize is that in our community, we have a unique responsibility, and that this goes beyond just Republican or Democrat, but we have a unique responsibility, having understood what it's like to be outside, say, the norm, and having had to fight for our rights, and this refers to any minority community. And so inclusivity and acceptance is a very important thing. And I think that's something we need to see on all sides, not only on all sides of the aisle, but inside and outside the LGBT community. And even within our own community, we have internal fights and strife sometimes on different issue groups and things like that. We need to be very cautious about how we handle this.
Jerry Ann, I want to refocus my question a little finer than that.
Okay.
The issue in the broad gay community is trying to understand the very conservative political climate that we live in right now, especially from the White House. Do you feel that you have a role as executives, the new executive director of Log Cabin Republicans, to try to bridge that representation of the White House and what the gay community perceives is what's going on from the White House?
Right. So one of the things I've mentioned for a long time is that I believe in a lot of our equality issues because I'm conservative. So sometimes when you see rhetoric that's opposed to our messaging, there's two things to keep in mind. One, sometimes political decisions are made that aren't in line with even conservative beliefs, and I need support, and I need to work with my team to make sure, with my team and with other people on the right and within the LGBT community, to make sure that we're standing up and providing a loud voice within the administration's ear about how they can be better advocates on these positions. But it's also important to realize that label attached there we can all want policies like equality, but the different pathways to get there will not always align. So what a Democrat might want and see as the method to get to fair and equal housing might not be the same pathway that I see to get to fair and equal housing, but we can agree that we both want fair and equal housing.
Wait, one more second, then I'm going to turn it over to y'all.
Okay.
That being the case, is there divergence, for example, and broadly, I bet most of the gay community does not know this. I understand the point that you just made on divergence. Is there divergence between the Log Cabin Republicans' platform and philosophies and the White House? Where do you divide from their positions?
Good question. There are some areas of divergence, and there are some areas of agreement. There are things like the trans-military ban are not things that we support. In fact, we're working hard to fight those issues. There's a lot of things that need better. We need the White House to be stronger on. In fact, just today I was on the phone with members of the administration talking about the president's Council on AIDS and HIV. I actually published an op-ed this morning on how Republicans should take a more leading role on that. And that's a council that's been empty for a long time. I don't think it's been empty because it didn't matter. I think there's been a lot of councils empty within the White House and the administration. But a lot of those positions have been given to Democrats. Now that might be something that a lot of people in the LGBT community might have liked. They might be advocates that they supported, but I think that we have people on our side also who speak to these issues from a different perspective that would be great allies with the White House, and that they should appoint them.
Well, okay, that's good. Several examples of how you divert.
I'll be honest. So you said that that your group was involved since the beginning of gay rights, essentially. To me, that sounds like the Illuminati. When I first met Joe, that was terrifying. Just the log cabin Republican nature of it all. So how do you differ from the Illuminati? From the
so
Freemasons?
terrifying.
I mean, what, if you guys are always there working behind the scenes, what is it that you actually do versus trying to coerce the rest of America?
So what I think the biggest thing that I could say that we do is we can shave off the critical votes, and we provide the very strategic counsel. You're not necessarily always going to have a wave of every Republican right off the bat, but we can provide the strategic fight. For example, and I'll give you a case, even before I worked here in Log Cabin, I worked on the marriage campaign, and we did so much to show and particularly even make the case so that when the Supreme Court made a decision, they could look out and see that the entire United States, not just pockets of the United States, but the entire United States was ready for the freedom to marry. And that included conservative groups and evangelical groups, people in the South, people in the Midwest, people in military communities. And that meant finding the areas of support within those groups and promoting the people who could be supportive and who were vocally supportive. And we have done that now for many, many, many years. And there will still be people who will disagree with me. And there will be people who disagree with me that I want to fight with. And there are people that I will disagree with who I understand I'll never win over for whatever the reason is. And that's okay. We can agree to disagree. That is actually the great thing about this country is we can sometimes have disagreement.
And it's
So,
okay.
but we find the places where we
Anybody
need
else
to
want
have
to jump in?
I still heard her hands in everything, including lamb chops. So
Well, hi, Jerry Ann. This is Power Infinity. I know you can't see me, but believe me when I tell you, I'm the pretty one.
And he's right.
Okay, so I was one of the ones, I don't know if any of my co-hosts before I did suggested your story, and you got my attention because of the statement that you made that the president's handling of our LGBT issues and community was a hiccup.
I think
Did I get that right? Or
there have definitely been hiccups in his handling.
there's been
In the context of saying,
Yes,
there's
and I
been-
said it in the context of saying we definitely have work to do to fix those things.
Yes. Okay. So here's my issue
Okay.
with that, and I'd like you to respond to
Sure.
to this.
I'd like to hear it.
My issue is when I hear you say something like it's been a hiccup, to me I'm like hiccup. Girl, it's been more than a hiccup. It's like a wet fart. To say hiccup to me minimizes what what we are going through with this administration, and I'm very, and you've actually enlightened me as to the what the Log Cabin Republicans have done and their importance. And I do believe that you cannot eat at the table if you don't even have a seat at the table. However, with this administration and where we are right now, just given their platform their 2016 platform, which was the most anti-LGBT platform in history, some of the things that they stood for: overturning the Supreme Court's 2015 decision to legalize gay marriage. They stood for making it legal to discriminate against gay people, discouraging gay couples from adopting children, stating every child deserves a married mom and dad. That was page 31 of their platform. Forcing everyone to use the bathroom of their biological sex at birth, making conversion therapy legal for minors. I mean, all this just on their platform alone, and I'm not talking about since then the things and the rollbacks that they've done with regards to our gay community. So I think it is incumbent on the Log Cabin Republicans, if you guys are going to be there. I might not agree with everything you guys do or stand for as far as politically, but at least if you guys are going to be there as a gay representation for our community, I think it's important not to minimize what is being done to our community by calling it a hiccup. That was my issue.
Right. So first of all, let me just real quickly. When I said that, this was, if you watch the entire interview, this was after about 3 or 4 questions where I continually said different things. I'm sorry if the word hiccup, I was not meant to minimize it, even though I'm sure you didn't mean to use the word wet fart to minimize it either. These are both very significant. Those are both casual terms to reflect a very serious issue. So I don't mean to minimize any of what's happened there, but to be clear, there are issues with what this.
Oh, girl, come on.
Hi there.
Well, as we told everyone at the top of the show, this is a live broadcast, and we're having technical difficulty with Facebook and our communication, our conversation with Jerry Ann Henry. Jerry Ann is the new national executive director of the Log Cabin Republicans. Jerry Ann, can you still hear me?
I can. I hear you now.
Okay, great. Thank you. We were having the conversation about your observations on the hiccup that made the national news this week. One of the things I want to follow up on Power's question to you. When you said it was a hiccup, it got reported, of course, in gay media, probably differently than in other media. Is it accurate that you were minimizing the White House's positioning on LGBT? Because that's what was really reported. What's your reaction to what the community's reaction to your comments was?
Hey, hi there. Can you hear me now?
Yes. I can hear you.
Okay, I hear you, but I didn't hear your whole question right before this. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no problem. My question, again, we're live. Lots of there can be technical issues. Our question is about the news that was reported about your observation that the White House and positioning were hiccups. Many people thought that was a reference that justified the White House's position in any way. How do you respond to that?
No, it absolutely. That term, I do not mean that to justify anything. In fact, we now have, a lot of the news cycle in the last few days has focused on words that people have said that have been derogatory to the LGBTQ community, and those are horrible things. But I am much more adamant about the policies that are harmful to the LGBT community, and there's a lot of those, and some of those have come out of the White House. And we are going to fight those first to last. But we can fight them from a different perspective than other people, and I think that's what makes this a valuable part of this.
Right. I understand. I hear what you're saying as far as needing to fight the issues that adversely affect the community. And I was on the Twitter page for the Log Cabin Republicans. I saw that this year the LCR, Log Cabin Republicans, gave the Award of Excellence, or an Award of Excellence, to the Texas Log Cabin Republican Board. They basically fought to get the Texas GOP to remove 2 sentences, very inflammatory sentences, from their platform about homosexual behavior being an unacceptable alternative lifestyle. And basically just saying flat out that they were anti-gay, period. So the Texas Log Cabin Republicans fought that. They got those 2 removed, which is great for what it is. But the Texas GOP also approved 24 planks in that same platform, similar to what Power was saying before, that were, repealing non-discrimination and hate crime laws, supporting conversion therapy, and they even said that they would oppose all efforts to validate trans identity. So trans people like myself are not even people, according to the Texas GOP.
Right.
And so, yes, the log cabin Republicans in Texas were able to get those 2 sentences removed, and that was seen as this great victory. That sounds to me like a participation trophy, if I've ever heard one. And it confuses me because
And your question is what?
My question is basically, how long do gay people, do the gay community, the LGBT community, how long are we expected to sit at the back of the bus before the big tent Republican platform reflects anything that actually helps our rights?
A couple things there. One, that award also, by the way, is meant to recognize incredible effort and hard work and blood, sweat, and tears that went into those fights, not necessarily meaning that we won everything that needed to happen.
Yeah, no, they worked. I mean, they worked incredibly hard to get those 2 sentences.
So I think that was our team in Texas has done incredible work and continue to do that work. There are still a lot of fights, and in fact, to be totally frank, those fights are happening on both sides of the aisle. If you go back even 4 or 5 years and use the same measurement that we're using today, and I'm not excusing anything in the Texas platform. I'm from Texas. I have worked on that platform. I have cried over that platform. I hear everything that you just said, and we have got so much that we have to do. So I hear you on that, and it is going to be, I will do my damnedest.
How
and
long
I
do you think
look
it will
forward to
take
hearing from you again in a year, and you can sit here and either cry with me or yell at me.
No, I hear you. I've cried over the Democratic platform myself, so I feel that. How long do you think it's going to take in terms of, are we talking, within the next presidential term? Are we talking within decades? How long do we,
I don't
until enough is enough?
think decades. I don't think decades, but I do think it's important. A lot of the, if I could put my hands on a crystal ball and tell you the answer to that, one, I would have done a lot better on the stock market than I did this last year. And two, I would have already fixed these things. I don't know the answers to how long it will take. I do know that with all of these issues, if you go back even to, I was talking earlier about the fight for gay marriage and some of those things, we've continually seen we see years of work and then some setbacks, and they feel devastating, but we learn from them, and then we take the next step.
Right. I mean, someone like myself hearing that they'll oppose all efforts to validate even my identity, that's just, like Power said, not even having a seat at the table, let alone being able to eat at the table. That to me is incredibly disparaging. That says that I have no chance whatsoever. If you were to come to me and say, here's why I think you should be a Republican, I mean, there's nothing hopeful to me about that statement.
It's literally the plot of Ted 2, that you're not a person anymore.
And that's a problem, and that's something that we need to address. And I think that we're also it's something that you can do and that other people can do. It's not as devastating. Votes matter, and votes for people who support policies like that are one of the best ways to drive that.
Absolutely, Jerry-Ann, I want to ask you real briefly as we wrap our interview with you, and we appreciate the time. Your election, or your being hired as the new national executive director of the Log Cabin Republicans, is that an annual commitment, or is it just does it become a permanent job until you decide differently? How does that work?
So it is not just an annual commitment. Most chairs have served for, it tends to be a minimum of about 3 years, but there isn't a set time. It depends. I think it's largely based on success. I answered to a board of directors, and they hold a very high bar. And I think that when I came in, it was made very clear to me some of the things that we've talked about tonight, that our board of directors stands behind me wholly on in what I've just said, and that they expect me to deliver results on on policy changes, on bringing together a more inclusive Republican Party, and that speaks to not only platforms but candidates, and recruiting in general. And I think that as long as I deliver on those things, I hope to continue to have the good faith of our board and our members and serve in this role. But if I don't, then I would be the first person to say that they should
Jerry,
vote.
that being the
Joe is
case,
right there for you.
That being the case, we can probably reasonably assume that you are going to be in position through the 2020 election. Would that be reasonable?
That is my hope.
Okay. That being the case, we for this evening, and we apologize for the technical difficulties we've had, but I think all of the hosts and everybody watching you now really appreciate you being on America's most popular gay live talk show. Because it's very brave. We say this about Joe repeatedly.
Yes,
you
thank
have
you,
a
Jerry
very
Ann.
specific point of view, and it's valuable for us to learn more about the point of view that you represent. So I ask you one thing. Being the brand new executive national director of the Log Cabin Republicans, we want to keep a door open to be able to communicate with you and bring you frequently to the show, because what happens between now and 2020 is fundamentally important to all of Americans, but especially the gay community. And you provide unique insight to help us all understand from the perspective of the White House and the GOP and Washington what's going on. So we extend that invitation in a frequent way for you to join us here at It's Happening Out.
I would absolutely love that, and I appreciate the opportunity also to be able to poke back a little bit. But I hope we can have a couple real fights on some of this stuff.
And I assure you, thank you,
I told you to be
Jerry Ann.
nice for the first one.
Right, we had this conversation. I assure you, that is coming, and we
They
appreciate
were afraid
it.
of me tonight, Jerry Ann.
All right, so Jerry Ann, thank you very much for being on It's Happening Out, America's most popular
Absolutely.
live.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. It's something that we're going to learn a lot about in the coming months
Well, I learned a
and
thing or
years.
two.
What did you learn?
They weren't as evil as I.
Damn it! It's very interesting.
No, I
Just
just wanted to
misguided.
bring up, because you talked about the platform that came out of the Republican convention. What you probably, and you should go look up, is a name called Rachel Hoff. Rachel Hoff was one of our delegates from Washington, D.C., and she was our delegate on the platform committee. And we raised a huge ruckus in the platform committee. We had a lot of LGBT-friendly language in there, and then some behind-the-scenes people came and wrangled all of it out and wrangled exactly what you put in and closed it off. The most amazing part of it is my perspective with this president, because I was asked, and you can look up, there's a few articles interviewing me. I basically said, you know what? This president doesn't agree with that platform. That platform is bullshit. Sorry, because now that he's president, he is an advocate. I know you don't agree, but he's an advocate for LGBTQ plus rights.
And that wasn't a shady cough. That was an actual cough.
No. He He is is an an advocate, and what he thinks counts. And that old platform is just.
Well, we're gonna talk
Anyway.
a lot about this subject.
We will.
We've talked a lot about
Well,
it.
hopefully
through
it's time for
and,
Joe
and,
I'm
and
gonna-
my hope
I-
is
and I-
this next convention,
Please,
we're going to make
Guys,
changes.
guys.
Okay?
We're
We're gonna
coming
work hard
up
to make changes.
to I Swallow That. I prepare everybody in production. We're getting ready to do that. We're still in breaking news and our news frame. And something else interesting happened this week, and that is our friend Ann Coulter. Before we talk about it briefly, watch this.
Love you, Ann.
I think we're going to be seeing a lot of these disputes in the Democratic Party base, because they all hate
we're-
one another. I mean,
Joe
you have
shots.
the Muslims and the Jews and the
Joe
various
shots.
exotic sexual groups and the black church ladies with the college queers. The only thing that keeps the Democratic base together is for them to keep focusing on, no, white men are the ones keeping you down.
We're
You
gonna
must
have
hate white
difficulty
men.
with
It's
the
the
Joe
one
shots.
thing they all have in common.
Okay. Well, as you can see, Ann had some very specific comments this week It was breathtaking to me, quite honestly. When I heard the quote, I thought it was fake and that somehow it had been created and then verified in multiple avenues. It is not. So on behalf of the Black church ladies, what would you like to say, Howard?
I mean, what else would you expect from Ann Coulter? First of all, her parents were probably siblings. I mean, and you could certainly see where that type of ignorance comes from. I really don't know. And somebody had said, or another journalist had said, journalist like I'm one. Another journalist had said that they don't know why we give her a platform. I agree. I don't know why we in America seem to give ignorance and stupidity a platform and the celebrity status. She should be shoveling shit somewhere.
Yeah,
have you ever watched The Real World?
Because resistance is futile.
Honestly, I agree. Does Ann Coulter even take Ann Coulter seriously? Like, I mean, she makes noise just to make noise just to get attention.
Let me stop for a moment. Did you watch the entire sequence?
I did.
Not that.
Not just the sound
but
bite,
the
right.
whole Ingram interview.
Yeah, and I've actually followed
Okay.
Ann Coulter, throughout the years, and she seems to me to be someone who makes a lot of noise to make a lot of noise. She says things that are purposefully inflammatory and purposefully way out there just to get attention.
Which
like the Democrats.
But
hang on 1 second.
I was actually making your point.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to move on.
The only thing is, I could never see myself actually supporting Ann Coulter, but after witnessing this company sabotage, where I didn't even get to view this until the moment of, because no one wanted to include the blonde white male in this, I can maybe see where she might have been coming from.
The video was in your email.
Apparently so.
You can look it up online.
No one, you can say it's all online, but I Googled. I'm from that generation.
So
no one wanted me to see
it's
this.
the obscure
I feel
sexual minorities that are oppressing the white boy.
Also, the video was in your email.
So notice how if it's anything,
Okay,
the pagan Jew is the
no.
one
Hang
that's
on a
affected.
second, because we need to put it in context. Because this was all a statement made about the Women's March from January 17th, 2018.
Get right to your point, please.
The point is Kamala Harris, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Tamika Mallory and Carmen Perez. Those two have been major organizers behind the Women's March. Those two have both been very much linked to Louis Farrakhan. They've made a number of anti-Jew and homophobic comments. They've tried to add those to the platform.
Joe, with all due respect, how
So-
even if all of that is true, how can that justify Ann Coulter's mouth saying it has something to do with college?
That's where you're wrong. Ann Coulter's mouth can't justify anything.
Her point was the Democrats right now are eating each other. They're all little segments, all fighting one another, belittling one another.
That
was the point?
That was the point.
Now hold on.
You weren't there at the Women's March last year. Okay?
I actually was, unfortunately.
It was a shit show.
Even if it was, wait a minute. Even if it was, if 100% of what you're saying is true, it does not justify the batshit crazy stuff that comes out of her mouth. Consistently.
Unfortunately, the presidency and Kellyanne Conway do justify.
And Joy Behar and
Still doesn't compare.
batshit crazy.
Still doesn't compare.
Even if
Still
that's
doesn't
true,
compare.
even if Joy Behar has batshit crazy stuff come out of her mouth sometimes, I assure you, she has never ever suggested that it is black church ladies and college queers and oppressed sexual minorities that are fighting the white man. No one ever talks that way. We have a clear we have disagreement on it. The only way I can get over the Log Cabin Republicans and Ann Coulter is with gel shots.
So let's get to our favorite beloved sponsor, Gel Shots. 6 amazing flavors. Try it out yourself.
I'm trying to first. Let's watch this video that we prepared on gel shots. welcome back. We're going to play what has become my favorite segment. It's called I'd Swallow That. And I'd Swallow That is an agree or disagree game. You can see I'm going to take this over here, and that's yours. And it's a game where we take a shot, and you don't touch your shot unless you agree with the question that I'm going to ask. Our hosts have not heard these questions. We invite you to play at home. Remember that the original gel shot is a great product because I love it because it doesn't have to be refrigerated. And so all you have to do is open it, and in it, you a little squeeze, and in it goes, which is Napoleon's favorite phrase.
Just never from Al.
All right. So, everybody ready to play? Let's begin.
Yeah, I'm ready to squeeze a little.
Let's begin with Peach, our peach bum. All
Another
right.
of my
Our first
favorite.
question, I'd swallow that.
The answer
Our question is, flirting, a little inappropriate, flirting with straight people can be more fun than flirting with gay ones.
Oh, yes.
No?
I don't know. Everybody I flirt with is automatically gay. So when you're gender fluid, there is no straight.
Oh, that's good.
I love this game.
And they just pop out.
I already feel a little bit better than before.
All right, let's go to. This is the
Candy
melon.
melon. Yeah.
Candy melon. Napoleon, you'll help me with that.
My answer is
Question
yes,
number
just for
2.
its
This is
flavor.
the green one. Don't touch.
Okay.
Our question. I'd swallow that. I am happier now than I was 5 years ago.
When was I 5 years ago?
Hell yeah.
I was
but a wee 5-year-old 5 years ago.
I was 500 pounds 5 years ago.
I wasn't a citizen 5 years ago.
Ooh!
Ooh.
I was barely a boy 5 years
Joe
ago.
was in prison 5 years ago. No.
This is a difficult one-upping. I
No.
was Santa Claus 5 years
No.
ago.
My joke was he was married 5 years ago.
Oh,
All right.
I got that.
Next is our blue, which is
Blue Raz.
Blue Raz. All right, a raspberry. Don't touch. Our question. I'd swallow that. We're gay. And this is a myth about gay, or isn't it?
That we can swallow so easily.
I'd swallow that. I have overtipped a service employee trying to get their phone number or even more before.
Overtipped
I've
with what?
overtipped money.
Oh.
Overtipped with what?
I don't pay for phone numbers. I mean, no.
No, really?
No.
I know, but that makes that shot very sad.
That could be food. It could be. Really? Nothing?
I did once overtip in Syracuse when I was visiting with my family to Canada, and I overtipped by giving him my phone number, and I got it. So I feel like that's enough of a reason to take this.
Okay. Very good.
Look at this face. When you need to tip somebody to get a phone number.
Hello.
All right. All right. Let's go. This is the Cinno shot. This is cinnamon. Question number 4. I'd swallow that. I want to live in Florida for the rest of my life.
Oh, I really wanted to want this shot.
Really? Only 3 of us. You don't want to live in Florida?
I don't know. That's a tough. I don't think I can definitively say yes. I've moved around a lot. It's just there's got to be more to see in the world.
I have ambition.
Plus,
I've seen
I might
the
be
world.
going
This is not the
overseas
place.
if we keep going the direction we've been going.
147 countries. Florida is pretty much the bomb.
That was one of those celebrity quotes. 147 countries, and Florida is the best country of them all.
Yeah.
Al Ferguson.
That is not what I said. Well, maybe that's
That is
what I said.
basically.
All right.
We're going
Question
to
number
use
5.
that in the show.
I'm going to go
We're
back
gonna
to the Cinna shot.
We're going to do the banana blast. The banana blast. Question number 5.
Is that innuendo of some kind?
All right. Question number 5. I'd swallow that.
Yes, you will.
I think that the Guardians, talking about journalists, were a worthy. Wait, the shots are already hitting me. It just.
As we all wish we were.
I think. Napoleon and I hate each other. I don't know if you know that.
It's true. That's why I'm right over here.
I
I can
think
duck out of the
that
way.
the Guardians, the journalists, were a worthy Time Magazine Person of the Year, even if they may not be my personal choice. I thought the Guardians were right. Good choice for Time's Person of the Year. Really? You
Ain't
didn't
no
like
way.
that?
Well, they're
The Log Cabin Republican's not going to.
He doesn't believe in the free press.
No.
Wait, do you not believe in the freedom of the
I
press?
love the free press.
Well, I'm like spilling everywhere. See what you're doing? You're making me all conflammatory.
I bet he would have drunk
Not even a
it.
thing.
He would have swallowed it if you had asked if it was Saudi Arabia.
You won't even
All
tell.
right.
It's going on you.
Okay, question number 6, our last question, and it is going to be, we're going to do another peach. Let's do a peach. All right. It's Christmas time, right?
Is it?
It's
It's so hot outside. I wouldn't know.
It's,
Trees are
it's actually
behind
closer
us.
to winter solstice
All right.
than Christmas, but we'll go into that later.
Oh, by the way,
By the way, what, Al?
Christmas. Thank Jesus
The
that
Jew.
Hanukkah is
Over!
Can we drink to that? Can we take
It's
a
funny.
shot to
I'm
that?
only kidding.
That's
I'm only
funny.
kidding.
Wait till you get to my what
right.
do I think of today or whatever.
6. Question number 6. I'd swallow that. When I wrap Christmas presents, they actually look neat and well wrapped and not monstrous.
Raise your hand if you think Al has ever wrapped a Christmas present himself.
You notice I'm not doing
Again
the
with
shot.
the innuendo.
I
I'm
don't
great
know.
at wrapping
I don't
presents.
remember the question. I don't care.
Really?
Are you
And
gay?
You're good?
Hell yeah.
Yeah?
I get
you're,
my-
you're good at it because you're gay?
I'm trans, so I'm crafty. So therefore,
You don't wrap presents?
I do. They just suck.
All right.
They don't look
All right.
good.
All right.
She's better at
Do we
unwrapping.
have extra shots? We do. Let's everybody get one. Let's do a bonus.
My mother made me wrap all
Let's
of our
do
Christmas
a
presents.
bonus.
Oh my gosh, okay.
All right, we brought
Jesus,
the Ann Coulter segment to an end, but let's do a shot
God.
to Ann Coulter.
Oh, she
Why?
doesn't deserve
Let's
that.
do one.
Is that like pouring
Ready?
one out for your buddy?
Here we go. I'd swallow that, Ann. This one's just for you. All right, here it is. Ann Coulter is and production did the actual word out of politeness. I will edit it. Ann Coulter is a C word. Ann Coulter is a. Nobody.
My
agrees
mama
with
told me
that?
that was not a
I
nice
feel
word,
as
but
though
Wait,
I have to
this
agree.
end of the table is shotting.
Bottoms up.
I feel
I have
there's
one, so I
something
can
taking a
appropriate
shot
the
to
word.
somebody being who they are. I mean, that is what she is for sure, but that's just her nature. I can't. It'd be like if Al, if you're an asshole, take a shot. I can't do that. That's just a
Yes,
given.
you can.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do
Deep
that.
throat.
Power tells me to deep throat. I always say yes.
Oh, that's funny. All right,
up.
that's our game. I'd swallow that. And Gel Shot, we love you. It's become my favorite thing to do here.
Oh, yes.
It helps me cope.
It's the only reason I'm still
What?
here.
Nobody loves this game more than Joe. I'll tell you that.
Exactly right.
Amen.
You know, somebody, by the way, somebody said last week my joke about you didn't have to use your tongue the way you did. That's not what caused the reaction. What caused the reaction was my follow-up at the other end of the table of Joe putting the entire shot, including the plastic, in his mouth. That's a very funny shot. All right.
What can
we're
I
going to
say?
move on. That's our game. I'd swallow that. This week, we had a great opportunity here at It's Happening Out to talk to the iconic writer and director of Sordid Lives, Del Shores. And we want to show you just a segment of what we did with Del Shores. Watch this. Good evening, America. It's Al at It's Happening Out, and we have a special interview tonight coming from Wilton Manors, Florida. Of course, the incomparable Del Shores. Good evening, Del.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Thank you very much for being with us. As everyone in America knows, he's quite an accomplished actor and writer and director, and very famous for his association and creation of Sordid Lives. Sordid Lives is iconic today, but is it rewarding to you that as time goes on, it's even going to be more important in terms of an iconic representation of American family and culture?
You know what? Sordid Lives started being gravy a long time ago. I mean, honestly, it started as a play. We did this little tiny movie. We had no idea what we were doing, and at that time, we certainly didn't have a plan of distribution. And that it it is truly an example of word of mouth. It played, well, right here in Fort Lauderdale for a year at the Gateway. It played in Palm Springs for 96 weeks. And because these two cities are big tourists, people come in here,
then
they were saying, oh, we got something you got to see.
Wow.
You know, it became
Great.
our baby. And Palm Springs especially, I mean, people would, by the time the DVD came out 3 years later, it just flew off the shelf because everybody knew about Sordid Lives.
What was the inspiration behind it?
Well, the kernels that started it were my therapy sessions about coming out and my relationship with my mom. I talk about that in 6 Characters in Search of a Play, that Latrell is my mother, Ty was me, and I just stole my Aunt Sissy and I stole my Aunt Rita, and I just started putting, and I knew Leslie Jordan, and I called him and I said, I have this idea that you're this institutionalized drag queen. He said, oh honey, I don't do drag.
I'm not that person.
He says, in public, I don't do that I just do drag privately.
I can hear the voice ringing in my head. That's how iconic he is at doing
So
that.
I read him. I called him after I'd finished that section, which was called The Dehomosexualization of Brother Boy. I read it to him and he goes, I'm in.
Yeah, that's...
And we had the same manager at the time, and she told him, this is going to ruin your career. And look what happened.
Is she still his manager?
No,
Okay.
nor mine.
Good choice. One of the things that fascinates me about Sordid Lives is I read a tweet that you did that said...
Those tweets can get you in trouble.
Yes, they can. That's right. That said that it is not a gay story, but a family story. And that being the case, Brother Boy, and it's a sub-story of gay. Why is it so iconic then in the gay community? What was it that made the gay community go, this is me?
First of all, a lot of people identify with Ty and Latrell and that family, and then Brother Boy is just so campy and fun, you know, and then you scratch a little deeper and there's a lot of tragedy there of people who just wanted to put him away. But honestly, it is about family, and I think that one of the reasons it became so successful, first of all, we were in so many gay film festivals, and the gays took it to their families. It was a safe enough, you know, you can't take queers folk and say, hey mama, watch this with me.
Watch
you know,
the ring
but you could, listen, you know, oh no mama, you know, there's like a couple of moments where you know, when Rosemary, Dr. Eve takes off her blouse maybe and the boys walk out naked, but by that time people they've been seduced by the characters.
Seduced, that's a great way to say it. We shoot him in the head, Wardell. That's a funny line. We invite all of America to tune in next week, and you're going to see the full Del Shores interview. He talks about Stonewall. He talks about the importance of drag queens in America. He talks about his writing on Queer as Folk, and he wrote the iconic line about of saying, "Oh, we have to hurry up because it's 9-inch night at Babylon," and he talks about his Southern Baptist and religious upbringing. He was amazing. Talks about his legacy, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about Del Shores?
I like I said before, when we found out that he was going to be on the show, he's an icon, and I really look up to him as far as his writing. Sordid Lives was ahead of its time, honestly. It seems like it's just, you know, it's funny, it's silly, it's making fun of the South. But Brother Boy was a representative, to me, of the stigma of gender fluidity and of drag in general. And it was the ironic point of the whole movie, I think, was that all of the family members, Brother Boy was the sane one. Let's be honest. And he was locked up, and just the hypocrisy there is really.
You know, it's very funny because when you watch the interview next week, Del Shores, having looked at the show, he referenced virtually all of you because he talked about the characters in his Southern Baptist upbringing in Texas, which kind of represented Napoleon. He talked about drag queens. He talked about gender fluidity. He talked about log cabin Republicans. And I thought it was really interesting because he was so self-aware, he made sure he touched all of you in the interview, which I thought was beautiful.
Well, I think, you know, for me, it's amazing how somebody can do something and make such an impact and they don't even realize the impact that they make. My friend, dearly departed Wanda, a friend of mine that had died, a drag queen that had died in Tampa and made national news. There's two movies that I say that were our movies. It was The Color Purple and Sordid Lives.
No, that's beautiful.
And that movie, she used to play that character in her shows. Brother Boy, she was obsessed with that movie, and she would harass me almost nightly when she would stay at my house. We would watch the movie over and over and over and over again.
That's beautiful.
But it's something that really ties me to her memory, and he will never know the impact and the things that he's done that means so much to so many people. So I really wish that we actually had him on the show, and maybe one day we'll have an opportunity.
He's promised to come back. We couldn't work it out in terms of the Thursday night, but he's promised to come back because he's in South Florida frequently.
I really hope so.
Interestingly enough, I apologize to interrupt, but interestingly enough, all of you will be, you will respond beautifully, especially you, to your point of the tribute that you just made to Wanda and Kirk King, frankly, who owns Hamburger Mary's, of what he says about how drag queens are disrespected in 2018 and how it should stop and why. Watch the interview. It's beautiful what he says. Sorry.
Well, I don't know what to say now that people seem to think that I'm some Southern Baptist and can just jump in and say that. But I also had a tribute to him because it was the first time that I had ever watched Queer as Folk, and that line came up, the one that you mentioned before. It was the first time I'd seen the show. I was 15, and it was what resulted in my first kiss with a boy. I went outside, I started crying because it reminded me of my mom who might have had meningitis, and he came out, he let his feelings be heard, he decided to open himself up because of the words that were said in that episode. And I had my first kiss with someone that was a guy because of that. So
that's really beautiful.
Literally, it was
and funny because you haven't seen the interview yet. You'll see it next week. He talks about Sordid Lives being an introduction for gay people to their family. That it's really not a gay story; it's a family story. And he contrasted that in the interview to Queer as Folk. And he said Queer as Folk is iconic, but he said, he talked about it instantly. How about the opening scene of the first episode of the rimming episode? Of the rimming scene.
I need to rewatch
and
this.
you can't see that, and that's what I thought about when you...
That's not what I saw. I saw some, I love you, 9 inches, I'm going to get in on that, kiss, make out, mouth action. I did not hear rimming or see any kind of fun.
Oh, it's there in the first episode.
Oh, man.
Del Shores, next week on It's Happening Out. You want to tune in. Let's move on. A big issue is going on right now in the gay community. We talk about, is there gay community and is there gay culture? And that is about our rainbow flag. It's being heavily discussed that we have a major makeover. Empower this week did a post that got lots of response and about the modification. You see the modification in the flag and addition of colors. What do y'all think about the move on the modification of the rainbow flag?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank everybody. I make these posts, question of the days, in our It's Happening Out group page, which you guys, if you are not on that page, get on it. It's all the tea. And I posed this question about what people think about modifying our gay flag. Overwhelmingly, and by the way, last I checked right before we went to air, there was 110 comments, and people were still commenting, debating, and fighting with each other over this issue. So it is a really hot topic. My position, I think, is well known, but I will say it again. I do not think that our flag needs to be messed with. I think that the flag, in and of itself, the colors represent all of us, and it's not about race. I do think that every group that feels like they want to have their own flag, just like the United States of America, should have their own flag if they want. And I'm not against any group or any section of our LGBT community, wanting to have additional colors in the flag or change it. I'm not for any, against that. I'm just saying, for myself, I don't want to be under the banner.
You want the tradition.
Right, I don't want to be under the banner of that. And one other thing is, there were people, and valid arguments made, that certain people did not feel like they were included. They felt excluded from our LGBT community, and they felt like we need another
Why
flag
is
or
that?
a do-over.
Why? Because there's not a specific color, are you excluded from the broad gay
I
community?
don't know, and I say that I feel like this. First of all, adding another color is not going to change how you feel. If you feel excluded from the gay community, slapping another color or another stripe up on our gay flag is not going to change a damn thing. We need to change the community so that the flag that we have, it lives up to what it was supposed to live up to.
This is why the leather flag makes so much more sense, because when it was created by Tony DeBlaze in 1989, it was not ever meant to be the de facto official flag. It was meant to represent whatever people interpreted it to be. It was meant to change over time to appeal to whatever the audience needed. It was literally there to evolve with the times. It's one of those other things that we don't talk about leather culture enough, and how important it is to gay culture as a whole. Because, yeah, leather history is extremely important in terms of gay history, and we don't know enough about it. So let me explain that again. Tony DeBlaze in 1989, this was never supposed to be anything particular.
See,
why is the pride flag the same thing?
I didn't hear a single word you said, and the reason is because
you don't listen.
When you rang that bell, I went to Tom of Finland, and all thinking stopped. Wait.
Over-sexualization is yet another problem.
I want to move to Aaron in this conversation. You made a comment this week in social media that I took note of because it was kind of breathtaking. You basically said, we don't need to modify the flag, we need to burn it.
Ditch it. Ditch the rainbow flag altogether. And here's the thing. A lot of the comments that I found very interesting. Now, when this conversation first came up a year or so ago, I was every bit for. Originally, it was just about adding the black and brown stripe, and I was very for that because I think we have a major issue of race in our community and of excluding people of color. But my position on that has changed. No, I don't think we need to modify it. I think we need to ditch it completely. At this point, a lot of the comments said that, well, the rainbow flag is already inclusive. I'm going to go ahead and call bullshit on that. Plain and simple, I'm calling bullshit. The first Pride was a riot, in case anybody forgot. It was started by trans women of color. And a lot of people don't even know the names of those trans women of color. So if the gay flag is supposed to represent our history, we don't know our own history. So it's failing at that.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's also, that's only American history. That's not how prides have existed in other countries.
To that point, two of the names that are frequently brought up, that a lot of people do know at this point, finally, Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. Thank you to them.
Yes!
And they're very important to me and prominent to me in this conversation specifically because of the fact that we do finally include them in our narrative and our history. But what a lot of people don't know, did you know that in 1973 they were banned from the Pride Parade? That they were, Sylvia Rivera gave us a famous speech now called Y'all Better Quiet Down. You can watch it on YouTube, where she's standing talking about issues of race, issues of discrimination, and all that intersect with the issues of the gay community. And she's being booed by a sea of white, cisgender gay men. Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera both suffered breakdowns. Sylvia quit activism for 2 decades because of this. Our community outcast them back then. And sure, now that they're dead, we say, oh, they're our heroes, but we completely erase the rest of this history. And at this point, Power, I have to agree with one thing that you said, which was that adding another stripe isn't going to change that. And that's why my stance has changed about, no, I don't think we need to modify it. My name isn't Phoenix by some coincidence. I think we need to set it on fire and start over and create something that actually brings the whole community together. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, setting it on fire and starting over ain't gonna change a damn thing.
No.
The ideal that was made with the original flag, yes, our community has fallen short time and time again. But the problem therein lies in the community to reach that ideal. Starting over, putting another stripe, throwing some glitter on it, or whatever you want to do, ain't going to help.
I agree, but people got so militant about being against this.
Yes!
What's ironic to me is that we had a black stripe added to the Pride flag back in the late 80s, early 90s. It was actually added for AIDS victims. Nobody had a problem then. But when you want to add a black stripe for people of color, for trans people
I
of
did
color,
not know
everybody
that.
freaks
Well,
out.
whatever black
right,
stripe
you didn't,
was
right,
added
because
for
it was
the-
not a big deal.
well,
but
and
now
it-
all of a sudden everybody
well,
is freaking
maybe
out
part
and
of the
losing
reason
their
why
minds.
Also,
over
it was a big deal when
maybe
that
part of the
happened because
reason
of what
why
was
it
going on in
wasn't
the
a big
country.
deal was
Nobody
because
was debating it though. Nobody was protesting it.
I certainly
Well, there
don't
wasn't.
even-
It
I
has.
certainly
It's
don't-
happening
listen,
out.
This is ugly. First of all, it's no shade.
That is not a nice thing to say to
me,
Al,
it's ugly.
okay?
To me, it's
Are you
ugly.
talking to me?
You do. No, but to me, it's like if they added a black stripe, which I don't know, and I was around in the 80s, and if they added a black stripe,
didn't know that.
maybe they added it and
Now
it
we're
was
gonna
so
fact check
subtle
that.
that it looked
No, it's
good.
true.
But this is very, very visible, and to me, it don't look right. So for me, it's like, okay, if we want to include everybody, let's start working on the problems in the community so people feel included. Fuck the flag.
Fuck
Yeah.
And that's my point exactly.
But I don't mean fuck the flag.
Fuck the flag, fuck LGBTQ,
Okay.
let's just restart everything.
But I have been waiting all week because we already knew very, very few times do me and Aaron not agree. So you are looking at a legendary show.
But when
right
we
now.
do, girl.
So we already knew we weren't going to agree on this, but I really wanted to hear because what you said was what do we call it? Sound bite.
Wait, I want to point
That
out
was
in
no
terms,
bite. That
in
was a-
terms of this battle over the flag, I get ready. I'm going to issue a trump card in terms of.
Oh my
not
God,
Trump,
no,
not
no,
Trump,
no, we're-
a card in terms of voting on who wins.
Okay, so
All right,
Russian
let me show
interference.
you. This is Power's note card. And you probably can't see it. And look at Aaron's note card here. It's amazing, all of the doodles and the graphics. So therefore,
You have no idea
Aaron
how many.
wins.
I had so
Aaron
many
wins.
note
Wait,
cards thrown
right.
away to get to this point.
How does Aaron know?
Now like my card. I want to declare that does sound like some Trump
less
card,
writing,
Russian
it's just
interference bullshit.
Joe, I
right there.
apologize. I apologize. We have to move on because Power and Aaron have sucked all the oxygen out of the room. So I'm sorry.
We'll be live on an
All
exclusive
right,
behind the
we're,
scenes
we're
later.
gonna move on. I'm gonna skip over a few things because of some of the technical issues we've had, and I want to go to talking about the March on Stonewall. And just very quickly, because it came up, the cast doesn't know this. Each week we make a dedication to the March of Stonewall. Stonewall is going to be in June of 2019, and this week's
50th
note of the 50th anniversary of Stonewall, World Pride in New York. This week's, and you're seeing a slide at home, the March to Stonewall is dedicated to Marsha P. Johnson.
Wow.
And Marsha is one of the original queens that really initiated the riots at the Stonewall Bar in Greenwich Village.
And our community put her through hell, so thank her.
Absolutely. So we make that note. Now, speaking of the March to Stonewall, we're doing something very special tonight. We have told you at home, viewers already know, we have decided that for the gay community, we were going to close 2018 with our community's It's Happening Out Person of the Year. We have 12 nominees leading up to who we think represents leading cutting edge change in 2018 as the Person of the Year.
And the winner isn't Al, so you guys can all cheer from that right now.
So let's watch this video.
Oh.
Ariana Grande, singer. Janet Mock, writer, TV host, and trans right activist. Beto O'Rourke, U.S. Congressman. Robert Mueller, U.S. Special Prosecutor, and all things Trump. Donald Trump, President of the United States of America. Kate McKinnon, actress and comedian. Internet hackers, 2018 modern day bandits. Bernie Sanders, U.S. Senator. Adam Rupert, U.S. figure skater. Michelle Obama, First Lady of the United States of America and best-selling author. Stormy Daniels, adult actress. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, educator and U.S. Representative-elect.
Made this November, and now a record number of women will serve the U.S. Congress come January. One of those women, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, perhaps you've heard of her. She'll be representing New York's 14th Congressional District. At 29 years old, she will become the youngest serving Congresswoman ever. Joining me now is New York's own Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democratic Congresswoman-elect. Great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, but one of the things that has been fascinating is you've been doing these like Instagram montages of basically sort of behind the curtain. Like, this is what it's like when you come just elected. Like, this is what orientation is about. I want to show people a little bit and then get your sort of thinking on what you're trying to do there. Check a listen.
All right, here we go. Congressional life, getting off to a glamorous start. See ya. What happens when you actually check into orientation? You get a swag bag. Look at that. Isn't that so cute? So I jokingly call it a swag bag, but what we actually need as elected officials is very high security data devices. So that's what's inside this bag, a new tablet and a new phone. Guys, there are secret underground tunnels between all of these government buildings. There's no special sauce to it. You just gotta be good at getting things done.
We congratulate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as being It's Happening Out's Person of the Year. And
You
not
almost didn't
mine.
butcher that name.
Not mine.
And I'm a bitter old man now too. I'm becoming you. I said that during the off time.
Wow. All right, so y'all's observations are more important than what we've just done with Person of the Year. We congratulate her. She is the youngest congressional candidate, congressional elect congressman in history at 29 years old. What do y'all think about our nominees and her?
Yeah, she's incredible. I can't wait to see what she does. She's the first real person that I've seen in any representative seat.
She was there. She got voted in to shake things up, and she was definitely a vote of mine. So I see it. Tens across the board, girl.
Mm-hmm.
I was so excited that she got elected until I heard her speak. And then I continued to hear her speak, and I don't understand how that could be. I still think it's probably better than the alternative.
That's how I felt about meeting you, Napoleon.
That's fair. That's very fair. But I'm not a Congress-elect, so it's not quite the
Thank
same
God for
thing.
that.
I got a little disappointed seeing some of the quotations that had actually come out of her mouth. It is kind of like this table right here. It's almost asinine because she should carry herself higher than she does. And
she should know more about our government than she does.
I think she could. To be fair, she knows more than Trump does. So it's not really a fair comparison. I mean, we have such a low standard today that that's not something you can compare it to.
Well, in broad terms, I think it's very exciting that she is the Person of the Year because first, like you, she's 29 years old and doesn't really have a lot of focus yet, like you. And as a result, you have plenty of time.
Let's see my focus, folks.
No, in all seriousness, she has plenty of time to formulate who a young American and a woman, and her age is so spectacular. She was the upset of the midterm elections. It was almost impossible that she could be elected. And through fortitude and her dedication, she was able to do that. I seriously predict that we are watching a mega rising superstar. Now she's 29, and it's going to take many, many years But seriously, I think you're watching the beginning of a superstar forming in America. So congratulations to
She won't make another
Alexandria
term.
Ocasio-Cortez. It's happening out in person. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to play a game.
You look so miserable.
Yeah.
Your misery is my delight.
Yes, good. That's right. Actually, if I was going to poke a knife in him, I'd go, well, maybe we should reconsider Robert Mueller. Or wait, maybe we should reconsider Stormy Daniels.
That was my.
I'm only playing. Okay,
The American
let's
dream lives
play
on.
the game This or That. Now, it's a game that we play. It's a lot of fun. We hope you'll play with us at home. I'm going to ask the host, who they have not seen any of these questions. I'll insist that they do not read my paper in front of me because I've turned it over, and they have to choose. Now, America, I want to put it out in front of you. Watch my chagrin as I can't get the squirrels to play the game. We have 2 choices and 2 choices only. So in the moment that you hear anything else, you know they're no longer
Wait, so
playing
we
the
have
game.
2 choices or both or none, right?
Exactly. That's my problem.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
subscribe to a binary choice system, so.
That's funny. All right, let's play This and That. Everybody knows our rules. You ready to play? All right. We're going to do just 7 questions tonight. Question number 1. Let's talk about music that uplifts our spirits. This, now we're going to talk about music on Broadway, because we're all gay. Come on. This, Defying Gravity from Wicked, or that, This Is Me from Greatest Showman, which is a movie coming to Broadway. Which is it? This or that?
For me, it's Defying Gravity. That was like my trans coming out anthem. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Others?
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
All right.
This is me.
Okay.
I can't believe this. I have to agree with Joe.
Oh my gosh. Please, what's today's date? December
13th.
13th, and Power and Joe agree. Write this
That's
date
right.
down.
All right.
What do you think,
I
Pauline?
think these are your 2 favorite songs, but I'm going to go with Defying Gravity because it's what is the answer here.
I love both, but it's This Is Me. Question number
Obsessed
2.
with both.
This or that. Because we love Napoleon,
Where's the here?
what's the better Hanukkah snack? This
Jell-O shot.
latkes or that donuts?
Latkes. I'm a fan of a fried potato in any form, really.
Really?
Latke.
This or that?
Latka. You're no, come on.
I'm glad I said it correctly, too.
I,
Pronounced it
yeah,
right.
he didn't.
Lucky? I'm
No.
Southern. Come on.
Apparently I am too, but no.
All right.
I love my fried potatoes.
Lucky.
I'll go with donut because I love home.
Wait. I don't know if you've been to Israel, but donuts are a huge thing in Israel. Why is that? Why in Hanukkah and faith, donuts are such a big deal?
Because
Honestly, I don't know.
in Hanukkah, as I described last week, as you would listen to what I
wasn't
said,
listening to you.
obviously,
Come
as you
on.
can, well, let's just play back the clip. 17.5 million donuts are consumed
But
in
why?
Israel.
Why?
Because oil. Okay. Oh, okay. So I'm
Because
gonna have to teach you guys the night of
oil. Okay,
Hanukkah. Okay, I'm gonna teach
It's
you about
the oil?
Christmas too.
Can you
So
do it
firstly,
in like one sentence?
It's a miracle because the oil burned for 8 days, and they were also able to defeat the Maccabees.
Got
Now
it.
let me tell you what
That's
Christmas
all
is
you.
about.
That's, we got
No.
it.
Stealing and appropriating from other cultures like Coca-Cola and the pagans tree. Okay? Now we got Christmas down too. You guys happy? You guys happy with this all?
Speaking of that, Napoleon gets his comeuppance or his revenge next week, December 20th. Will be our final show of the year. It'll be a Christmas show, and all of our games and everything will be Christmas related. And we are going to make Napoleon celebrate Christmas like every good Jew should.
That's right. Dreidel.
So we're just going to totally,
I won't be here.
You know,
we're
it's
going to
funny.
just totally pass over the fact that I celebrate
All right,
Yule, which
all
is the
right.
next day.
Exactly. Shh, I didn't even hear you. This or that.
21st.
Question number 3.
Yes,
Question
I'm with
number
you,
3.
Aaron.
Moving on. When I kiss, I prefer
Not
this, a simple kiss, or that, all tongue, all day.
What's their
Depends on who you're
ethnicity?
kissing.
No, this or that. It is. There's nothing else. Choose this
Okay,
or that.
I'm going to say a simple kiss because honestly, I hate making out. I think it's disgusting. I don't want your mouth hole in my face. I think it's gross. I don't understand it. I really don't. I'm sorry.
Does that go for all holes?
No, not necessarily. But your mouth hole, like the mouth is the dirtiest place in the human body.
Okay, it is not the
It
dirtiest
is.
place in the human
Germ-wise,
body.
it is.
Other this or that.
Tongue all day, every day.
All
And I'm
day
good at it.
tongue.
We already
And
knew this.
wait. See, now y'all didn't hear that. Power just said he's good at it. Are you bragging about the
I
use of
am.
your tongue?
I am.
Because we saw that when you played gel shots. You were really good at it.
Did you guys know that the tongue is actually the strongest muscle?
That's true.
Really? It is? Our studio audience has gone crazy. It's gone crazy. What is it? This or that?
All
Simple
day,
kiss
all
or-
day, every day.
Really?
All tongue.
Okay. Well, that's because you were married for 50
My
years.
stomach just turned.
And you?
I love a good tongue in a lot of places, but I find too many people disgusting, and I do not want their tongue in my mouth. I'm right there with you, Aaron.
Right.
No,
Simple
no.
kiss. All right. Question number 4. This
Simplicity.
or that. If I meet someone
Change my mind,
famous, I'd rather hang with this, a porn star,
No.
or that, a drag queen.
Oh, I thought we were gonna get good choices. Girl.
A porn star, this, or a drag queen, that. Choose.
I want to be a porn star who hangs with drag queens.
No, you're not
That's-
playing the game.
Yes, it
This
is. I
or
chose
that.
drag queens, technically.
Drag queens, all right?
A porn star, because I'm the only diva that I
Can I just tell you, we have a host meeting at 1 o'clock on Thursdays, and he shows up. It's at 1 o'clock, and if I show up at 1:01, the drag queen diva's eyebrow goes up about this high. So what he just said is true. This or that.
I thought we said someone famous, so I'm already lost by the
A
question.
porn star or a drag queen?
All right.
If
So
you were going to hang out with someone famous.
then I guess there's at this point more famous drag queens. So I'm gonna say RuPaul, say hello to me. I'm gonna hang out with you.
RuPaul would damage you, dude.
I believe it. Less so than you would.
Joe.
Porn star.
Porn star. Okay.
I'm below.
Question
I was
number
confused
5.
by that.
This or that. Remember, everyone, we are playing this or that. Only one choice.
That was his note in case he forgot to mention it to
When
everybody halfway
thinking
through.
about, do you realize how much you overtalk?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure.
That white
When
male
thinking
thing.
about the government's role in my life, I would rather have this, privacy, or that, security.
Ooh.
Which one is more important?
Security.
Security.
Yeah.
So you're a Republican.
I don't give a damn what you want to call me. I want to be alive. Security.
Technically, privacy would be the Republican answer, I believe. I would
Okay,
say privacy.
tonight is the night when we agree yet again.
Oh my gosh.
And we agreed on the flag too.
On the porn
so that's
star, too.
and the porn
And
star.
the porn star. The
oh
horses
my
of
God.
the apocalypse are marching into Wilton Manors as we speak. Wait, let's open our Bibles to the book of Revelation.
Just quickly, it's funny because I am
like
a
Paul
Democrat,
Revere.
but when it comes to when it comes to our military and our stance, I'm more Republican. in
Now,
that
you know
sense.
what's
I'm
interesting
very
about that
military.
observation? I was thinking about that on Jerry Ann. There is no one thing for any person.
that's
and
right.
the moment
It's
we
not.
put everybody into a box and say that's it, we're making a big mistake, which is the point that I take from what you said. This or that?
Well, I'm going to say privacy,
Privacy.
honestly.
I'm hyper paranoid. I'm all for privacy.
Privacy. Okay. All right. Last week we had a superhero battle. We had a superhero
that's
battle.
right. I remember.
Napoleon responded to it in a very juvenile way.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure 30 years later I might feel the same way.
Okay.
And that was
Had
me
to
being
get an
kind.
age
All
joke
right,
in
60
somewhere.
or 70.
Question number 6. This or that.
All more superheroes?
Aquaman is set to hit theaters this month. So let's compare. Now, compare is the key word.
I know
This,
his
Aquaman,
His chest is bubbling.
Jason
Bouncing.
Momoa.
Momoa.
Come
Come on,
Thank you.
baby, get it right.
Bouncing
Or
up and
that,
down and bouncing.
Superman, Henry Cavill.
No.
Hands down, Jason Momoa. Aquaman has been my favorite since I was a child.
Really?
Absolutely.
To hell with Aquaman. Jason Momoa is my future ex-husband.
Is it?
Absolutely.
Momoa again.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, no, let's save you. Power?
Henry.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
We have
I
two.
said Henry because I know, we like that.
We have two for Jason and one for Henry. And now,
So I was sitting at a restaurant, and
Here we go.
by me walks this amazing ass, and I say, "Hey,
Henry.
his ass
Can
is
somebody
incredible."
start the
And so
timer?
he sits down. You with the 5-portion quote, you can sit down. And this beautiful ass walks by me, and he
I
sits
can
down.
do this story for him. Go ahead.
Oh my God! Well,
finish
please
it.
do it. Just have the same
Just
emotion.
finish it.
Oh my God! And so he sits down, and I look at him, and I
Henry
triple look at him, and I
Cavill
3 times
sat
look at him,
and
and then I
looked
ask the
into my
waiter if it was
eyes,
actually him, and it
and his
really was
beautiful
him.
blue
So I go up,
eyes
and he says,
mesmerized
"What's your
me."
name?" And I say, "My name is Napoleon."
He also went to school with Lady Gaga, in case anybody
Wow, look
didn't
at
know.
see, look at all this white hate for the
So-
blonde Jew. Like
so-
seriously, this is some pissed off,
Yeah,
angry.
I'm one of those college queers that Ann Coulter was talking
You
about.
definitely are.
Against white men.
You
All right,
definitely
so
are.
you've chosen
Okay.
Henry Cavill. All
have.
right,
I'm
so
so
here's
sorry,
what's
Jason.
happening, America. We have a 2-2 tie. Henry Cavill has lost every single superhero challenge that we've had in this
Really?
or that.
No, you've not.
Every single week, Henry
love
Cavill
you.
has not won. So therefore, I become the tying vote, and I'm voting for Aquaman.
Oh yes, Henry Cavill. I am here for you. I know you're local, baby. I will show you the way.
All right.
I love you.
Last
You're going to be
question,
great in The
this or
Witcher.
that, the last question. Something sweet. you
Henry
put
Cavill.
Something sweet you put in your mouth.
Henry Cavill.
How do you like your chocolate?
Oh.
This, white, or that, black?
Is this about Napoleon Power again?
How,
Black is
what's
not
sweet in your
there's
mouth?
there's no
white or black?
It's dark or milk. There's no black chocolate. That's not a thing.
I never heard of black
That's
chocolate.
literally not a thing.
That's a totally different conversation now. Freudian slip much, a little bit?
Pick.
I love white chocolate.
that white.
Oh my God.
I like full flavor dark chocolate.
Dark. No.
And the
You're not
candy,
playing
too.
this or that. It's black. You're choosing white chocolate
making-
or
Okay,
black
Okay, then I'm choosing
chocolate.
black dark chocolate.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
And the candy too.
Who else? Oh, no, we'll come to power last.
Like I said, Henry Cavill is the only sweet thing I want in my mouth.
All right, we got that.
What is he? Was
White or black
I
chocolate?
don't, whichever one he qualifies as, white or black.
Tell us.
I couldn't know. I haven't had it yet.
So you're not going to play.
I'm playing as hard as I
All
can.
right, we're done. All right, power.
We're talking about food.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Your husband?
I'm confused. I'm confused. I'm confused.
So pick this or that. White chocolate or
Black
black chocolate.
chocolate.
Well, I don't like white chocolate if we're talking about food and the taste. So I have to go with, I will try black chocolate.
Whatever that is.
All right.
Al, what about you? White chocolate or black chocolate?
I am moderator, so I exercise my right to not
Choose
participate.
A or B, this or that, or you're not playing the game.
All right,
Quotation.
true. All right, let's move on. That's our game, this or that. An interesting thing happened this week on Grindr. There was an interesting article about how Grindr was using, not Grindr itself, but people participating in the Grindr app, was not only participating in getting dates, and I use that word very liberally, but using secret drug codes and making connections for drugs. We're showing you a slide about that right now in terms of the secret codes that are being done. What do y'all think about Grindr being used not only for sex and delivering right to your door, and also drugs?
I think dates is always very loosely used when you use it, firstly. But also in terms of just having symbols in terms of whatever you can get. You can get weed, you can get meth, you can get ice, you can get whatever you need. That's definitely true. And that's part of the problem with how gay apps work. You have everything, like I said last week, available at your disposal within the second. And you can have this fear of being caught by the police, or you can fear that you're needing this to survive in your life. And either way, it's a lose-lose situation that we're propelling within our own community.
I'm just worried that we're going to lose Grindr too next. I mean, we've already lost Tumblr. We've already lost several other avenues.
You know, yeah, I was surprised. I don't use Tumblr.
Weird.
And I told you, Pornhub is where you go to get your real porn. But I was surprised at the reaction last week of our conversation about Tumblr. It is really a big deal.
It is.
For so many people of really fundamentally afraid about what's happening in social media.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that Grindr's going to go away next. I mean, we've come so far in this age of technology and available information. Yeah. And now we're losing these apps to protect us, supposedly, what else are we going to lose?
You can't say that you're a top or a bottom on Facebook anymore.
Yeah,
I know.
that's also true.
Grindr, you can get sex and you can also get drugs because of this platform. I can't believe that this is even a story. I mean, and water is wet. I mean, I just can't believe it's even a story.
I'll double check
Gay
that.
men, sex, and drugs are a common trifecta. You know.
Newsflash,
Any thoughts, Joe?
I think it's a shame, but I think it's unavoidable. It's just unavoidable.
I mean, people are going to find their drugs one way or another. Just like they're going to find their dick one way or another.
It's like when people used to when there wasn't, and people used the hankies, the hanky code.
I give Jared the heads up. I'm going to go to the follow-up slide
in the recreational areas. It's the same thing. Everywhere you go, any platform, there will be a code to get whatever you want.
I immediately thought of
and
the
there's
hanky
no way
code,
we
too.
can get around that.
I want to point out last week we talked about sex and PMP on the show, and Power made an observation about the excessive use. Excessive is probably the wrong word, but a significantly greater use of drugs, especially in relation to sexual activity in the gay community versus the traditional straight community. And he said, I don't care what the statistics are, I know it's much, much more. And he drew on it from his experience in the club scene. We took some time to do the research of it, and we're getting ready to show you a slide of what we found out. There's actually a government study about this. And we're getting ready to show you the slide that found out of every 100 people, presumably men, this is referencing, but I don't know that, 17 out of every 100 straight people reflect that they've had illicit drug use in the past year. Now, this is not including marijuana. Marijuana, the numbers would even go higher. This is hardcore illicit drug use. In the gay community, it was 39 out of 100, dramatically higher. So Power's point, surprise, surprise, was true. And it's a situation of what we're talking about in terms of the desire of having the secret codes in Grindr, to your point. Anybody surprised by those numbers?
Well, if the government study was that 39 out of 100 men admitted to drug use, I would say probably 50 of them lied.
Yeah, that the number's even higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd be interested
in the past
to see.
year.
Huh?
It's within the past year. I mean, I know I'm not going to admit if my mom is going to hear it that I've done anything in the past year. Absolutely, I'm not. So you're right on that front. I mean, it's hard to admit to those kinds of
I'd be
things.
interested to see too how it's changed.
I'm
between...
curious. I apologize for interrupting. I'm curious to your observation about your mother, and what you say. Are you shaming yourself? Are you afraid that you don't want her to know if you do any illicit drugs? What's the reason for what you said?
The reason for what I said is that I know that there, regardless of if that's my person or if there are other people out there, for other people, there's somebody that's going to hear the result of this study. So am I really going to be honest or not? The answer is no, because they're probably not going to help me. I have no trust in the government as a whole, and therefore I have no trust in whoever is conducting this study that's going to report it to some asshole that's going to come and as far as I'm concerned, put me in some kind of institution.
Does it surprise you that if we were in Europe, if we were in Spain or Portugal or the Netherlands or France, this whole conversation would go, what are you talking about?
Right,
we
who
don't
cares?
care about this. Because if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. We have government programs to help you if you have need, but we don't care about
they
this
have
issue.
government programs
Does that
there.
surprise
So
you?
much is
that
personal
America is so much more Puritan.
No, it doesn't surprise me. The war on drugs has been, oppressing people and keeping them from getting help for far too long.
Yeah.
And this is just
And
failing.
failing.
Exactly. And this is just a ripple effect
Nancy
of that.
Reagan, just say
Succeeding in the way
no.
it wants.
She created that image, and it's stuck with us for nearly 35 years.
It's been succeeding in incarceration, and that was its goal.
Exactly. Okay, well, that's what's going on in Grindr. This week, I want to move on. We had a situation, I just alert everybody, because of the technical issue that we had with Facebook, we're a little longer. Actually, we're in the same time frame, but we're a little longer because of our restart. This week, we talked to Ari Gold, the famous pop star. And it was very exciting in our interview with Ari because I got in bed with Ari Gold.
And that was his first time. Everyone, no, this is a big applause. That was his first time in bed with a Jew. So everybody, give it up to Al Ferguson, finally getting over his anti-Semitism.
That's pretty much true. All right, so we want to show you this interview with our guest, Ari Gold. Watch this. Good evening, America. It's Al at It's Happening Out, and we have an interesting interview for you this evening. Very famous pop singer and songwriter, Ari Gold, and I have to let everybody in on a little secret. He's lying in bed. I just saw him get out of bed just a moment ago, so he's got to tell the truth because I've just outed him. Ari, good evening, and thank you for joining It's Happening Out.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm very famous. I think I'm show business's best kept secret. So don't tell anybody.
Yeah, well, let us all continue to try to propel the idea that you are very famous. You did voice character work in the Cabbage Patch Kids. Is that true?
It is true. I played Sybil Sadie playing Butch. You're absolutely right. But yeah, I loved playing Sybil Sadie, and it was on a couple of the Cabbage Patch Kid records, which I believe the first one went platinum.
Hey, I was reading all of these awards. Billboard Top 10 Recording Artist, Independent Music Award winner, 3 times Out Music Award winner. That's completely awesome. I'm curious in terms of entertainment. Along comes a little show called Entourage, and Ari Gold, the character of Entourage. I want to know, and so does everyone in America, do you absolutely hate Jeremy Piven?
Apparently my brother once saw him at a party and he was like, my brother is the real Ari Gold, and Jeremy Piven said, I'm sorry for him.
So you don't hate him?
Well, that was a pretty asshole-ish thing to say, so maybe I do hate him. I don't know.
I was promoting that I was going to do this interview with you, and so many of my friends immediately mentioned to me, which I didn't know until just recently, the word cancer came up a lot in the conversations. And in most conversations, it's an all-stop moment in conversation. But it doesn't seem to be for you. Tell us how you're doing.
Wow. It's a trip. One thing I have always done as an artist and someone who's out there in public is to tell my truth. And so, I mean, if I'm going to go through a health issue, as serious as that, the best that can be. The best that can happen from talking about that is that I can potentially help someone else.
It makes me wonder, and how are you doing? Tell us how
Thank you so much for asking. I feel good today, and it's one day at a time. My journey with it is not over, and
so you're still battling.
Yeah, I'm still battling. Yeah. Today I'm here. Today I'm not in pain. And today, I'm still working on my projects, and I have all kinds of things that I want to do. I've been performing. I have, 2 amazing shows that I am, I just want to get out there as much as I possibly can.
What are the projects you're working on right now?
Well, I've been releasing a remix every month since July, so it's 12 months to Pride, and it's going to culminate at World Pride, which is this year in New York City, which is my native hometown, and I'm releasing Remix to Freedom, which is basically a remix component of my last album, which I'm so proud of. And since you mentioned it, somehow in the midst of all of this health issue and through grappling with mortality and things of that sort, I wrote an album and was able to pour my heart out into an album. But, the album is so fun, and it's so, because there's so much joy when you're dealing with the struggle. There's joy in there, but there's the pain and the heartache. And the album Soundtrack to Freedom is about how dance music is the defining soundtrack to LGBT freedom.
The last thing I want to ask you about is entertainment and what you do in your point about how the gay community celebrates through your kind of music. Some of the changes that we're watching in terms of what we consider entertainment in America, in the gay community for sure, in the circuit.
Well, okay. Well, first off, I'm a big fan of RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm a big fan of RuPaul. I am also a dear friend of RuPaul's. He is on my speed dial, and we do text each other, and we see each other whenever, he has time. He's quite a busy man. He has really made careers for these queens, and drag queens have been at the forefront of the gay liberation and equality movement. With that said, I will also say that it has for me.
This is called the other shoe dropping, by the way.
Yes. Well, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life. Let's just say, as a cis-presenting, I'll just say that, gay male, it's been very difficult for me to compete and get the gigs with the girls of Drag Race. And so I think that I would like to see us make room. So I would like to see all of us as an LGBTQIA+ community, to all of us make room for all the colors, all the shapes, the sizes, the genders, the gender expressions, the sexual expressions of who we are as a community. We have the capacity to make room for everybody, to deal with more than one issue at a time. We can do this.
It's a perfect exclamation point to your 5th studio album, Soundtrack to Freedom. And I applaud you for the remix March to Stonewall that you're doing all the way to June of 2019. I alert all of our viewers at the end of our interview here, we're going to show you a bit of Ari Gold and the latest and greatest from Ari Gold. Ari, thank you very much. On behalf of everyone at It's Happening Out, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
I'm going to conversation. I feel so inspired to continue my day now. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I'm going to tell all of my friends I was in bed with Ari Gold. I'm for sure going to tell them. I was. All right.
You're not lying.
No, I'm not lying. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Ari, a pleasure, and we wish you all the luck with your medical situation, and we know you're going to get better.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good night.
I hope to see you live. Okay, good night.
I'll make the choice. Choose what matters, climb the ladder, but be kind. More than a reason.
Well, we thank Ari Gold for being our guest. It was exceptionally fun for me.
Thank you, Ari.
Exceptionally fun.
Yes.
Yes,
And was it
We
red?
heard. You were in
was the
bed.
underwear really red?
It was so red. It was so red. And we have some
It's
off-camera
Christmas.
stuff that we have on YouTube that you can watch.
I'm pretty sure he's worked with everyone on this panel except for Joe. So, Ari, make sure you get Joe your number because I'm sure he's waiting for it. He's ready to work with you too.
I am.
What do y'all think, Ari Gold?
In bed.
I've always loved his energy, so I appreciate that. And his music, I'm talking, nothing to do with his underwear.
Yeah, he's doing this magnificent project that you see in the interview, where it's a remix every month of many of his famous songs, all the way up to Stonewall next June.
He's actually featured trans people in his music videos a lot, and I love the representation. It's really valuable.
And you hear in his interview how he defines himself as genuine.
We call it gender fluid. We're going to have vocabulary
I
101,
have gotten through an
transgender.
entire show where Aaron hasn't criticized me for some word that has come out of my mouth. I'm doing better, aren't I?
You are. You're doing a lot better.
No, seriously, I'm doing better.
I'm going to bake
We're really
you
excited
cookies
for you
tonight
down
for
here
it.
in Fort Lauderdale. I can't wait to see you perform live, man. You're going to
Yeah.
rock it. And I
Ari's-
hope that you reveal those abs.
Ari's
because
doing
they're
amazing.
exciting.
Yeah. He's in great shape.
I'll take the tips.
One thing that we want to say
Yes.
for sure is
Absolutely.
Ari has had a dramatic health scare, dealing with cancer, bone marrow involvement, and he's going through it. I was very touched in the interview. He said something to me, and it really touched me. He said, when we were talking about it, that, did I tell you all I was in bed with Ari Gold? Did I tell you all that? I'm not sure I did.
And Napoleon went to school with Lady Gaga. We
and he
know.
went- right, exactly. He said that today he was having a good day. And that is a clue word of going, yesterday or tomorrow will not be one.
Yeah,
and
or
my
may not,
heart
yeah.
really went out to him when he told me that. I thought that was a beautiful share. He is going through these dramatic health issues that he's going through, and everybody at It's Happening Out wishes you all the success in the world.
So much love. So much love.
Watch his videos. He's great. Make sure you come to New York and World Pride and Stonewall's celebration the last weekend in June of 2019. And I know you're going to get to see Ari Gold at it. So we are going to close up tonight. It was a challenging show for us because of the technical issues we had, but we survived it. We want to tell you next Thursday we have the complete guest from Del Shore, and we are going to do our Christmas theme. It'll be December 20th, so be sure and tune in next Thursday night at 8 o'clock. It'll be our final show of the year. We thank you again. 141,000 of you watched America's most popular live gay talk show. We thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
So,
We love you for loving us.
yes, exactly. So, on behalf of Power Infinity
Good night, children.
and Aaron Phoenix
Good night, gender fuckers.
and my friend Napoleon Plays.
Friend. Good night, Ellen DeGeneres. Please don't cancel your show without at least having me on first. Please. I'll dance right there with you. I'm right there. Look at me go. Look at me go. Look at me go. Look at me go.
Yeah, white Jewish boy. And my friend Joe Brookman.
Love you, family. Merry Christmas.
And of course, as you know, I'm Al Ferguson. We want to remind you that if it's important to you, our gay community, our gay culture, it still exists. And if it is important to you, it's happening out. Good night, America.
Good night.